The State Board of Education meeting will begin in 5 minutes. Great.
Good morning.
Good morning. The The December 5th State Board meeting will now come to order. Good morning and welcome to the December 5th, 2025 State Board of Education meeting. Board members, please engage your microphones before speaking and turn them off when you are finished speaking. Please note that board members may be using their cell phones and laptop computers to access the agenda and information related to this meeting. Live streaming is available through the State Board of Education website. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Kristen Christensen.
Here.
Maggie Douglas.
Here.
Lisa Schoenhoff.
Here.
Liz Renner.
Here.
Kirk Penner.
Present.
Sherry Jones.
Here.
Elizabeth Tegmeyer.
Here.
Deborah Neary. Here. Commissioner Maher.
Here.
All present.
Quorum is established. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Information regarding the Open Meetings Act is posted as you enter the room from the main entrance doors. The Open Meetings Act is also posted on the State Board of Education's website. Next item of business is the Commissioner's report. Commissioner Maher, please provide your report.
All right. Thank you, President Tegmeyer. I'm going to start the report today with something that I'm sure several of you have received many questions on, and that's the topic of the TIOSA distribution and the overpayment of state aid. The reason I'm certain you've got several questions on this is so have I. I'm going to provide you some answers to the questions that I know and the best answers that I have to date. I want to start and end with this, and that is that the mistake is that of the Nebraska Department of Education. So what actually happened? I'll be using the term CEP many times in my comments. You may recall that the USDA program for school food programs has a provision called the Community Eligibility Provision, the CEP. The CEP allows high-poverty schools to serve free breakfast and lunch to all students without collecting household applications. That CEP component is going to be important when I get to what actually happened here. A report that comes from the Nebraska Department of Education nutrition team to the school finance team changed in the year 21-22, so a little while ago. And at that point in time, the report no longer looked at CEP counts alone. The equation changed by adding in another three-letter acronym called the ISP, and the ISP stands for the Identified Student Percentage. And then there's a multiplier of 1.1 that is also included in the equation. When the report changed, the Nebraska Department of Education didn't catch the change and began using the CEP counts without the ISP being applied to the calculation. This detail means that the free lunch counts at those schools or school districts were overstated. This created the problem. The issue started with a mistake here at the Department of Education. So one of the questions I get is, how many school districts were impacted by the mistake? And to be clear, many Nebraska schools have been impacted in a recalculation. We know that 3 districts will have significant negative prior corrections. Those schools are the Omaha Public Schools, the Grand Island Public Schools, and the Southern Public Schools in Wymore. Many other districts will end up with more funding due to the reallocation of funds, but the exact impacts, people would like to know how much money goes here or how much money goes there to this error are not known, since the recalculation of TIOSA also includes many other factors that are also updated, including membership counts, the annual financial report, the AFR corrections, et cetera, and then put on top of that what's going to happen to local valuations, and it's really impossible to tell you today the exact amount for that recalculation next year. So what can be done at this point? I think that is a key question at this time, and a question that we asked immediately when we heard about the information. And I think the first thing that we need to think about is, what do we do now? Before we try to figure out how do we react, what is it that we do right now? And we have several checks that look at the data and look at the information that we've presented. The first thing that happens is that we have a programmer here at the Department of Education who pulls the data. And then that data goes to our school finance director, who independently calculates and verifies the programmer data. In other words, verifies the data to source data. Also, before any of that information ever leaves, the Department of Education in our finance office reviews the calculation before a model is ever put out to the state, and that the data used in the TIOSA calculation is then presented to school districts for district level review. We're hopeful that any mistakes would be caught in our assessments, or that we will catch the mistake in partnership with our school districts throughout the state. A model of TIOSA is put out for review by school districts with corresponding data in order to calculate all components of the formula. And when I say put out, that's put out to school districts. And then the final step, if we haven't caught a mistake yet at this point, the final step is the one that caught it this time, and that is that the review by the state auditor shows us what happened. And while it stinks, the size of the mistake, the amount of money because of the mistake, the only piece of good news I can say here is the process for catching mistakes worked. It worked at the final step. And I think it's incumbent upon us at the Department of Education to figure out how can we ensure or create a scenario where the likelihood is increased that if such a mistake is made in the future, we catch it sooner, long before it ever goes to the school districts and long before the state auditor has to worry about correcting our mistake. So the question of how do we guarantee this doesn't happen again? I would tell you we can't guarantee this doesn't happen again. And the reason we can't guarantee that this doesn't happen again is it was a human error. And I don't know that we can ever guarantee that human errors won't exist in the future. However, we can do our best to fill in cracks in the process. For this occurrence, the issue has been identified and is in the process of being corrected. Going forward, we continue to work to see what other checks we can put in place and to implement to reduce the likelihood of a reoccurrence of something like this. I can tell you I am working very closely with our finance department. I wanted to bring you something to say, we're going to implement this step, but quite frankly, if I did that today, it would be something that was made up, something that was akin to hocus pocus, because I don't have another step to tell you yet of this is a quality step for us to implement in the process. But I can also assure you we're not done thinking about what that step might look like, and we'll have something ready for you soon. In conclusion, I want to end the way that I started and say that this mistake is the mistake of the Nebraska Department of Education. We need to be better at the details of TIOSA distribution, period. I have other things to say in my report, but I'm going to stop at this point for questions on this topic.
Lisa?
First off, I want to say one of my, I have a lot of respect for the commissioner because you take ownership and you take ownership publicly, and you've done that for literacy. You've done that repeatedly since I've been on this board, so thank you. It's not, we're living in a world where a $30 million mistake has to be taken extremely seriously, especially with our taxpayers and many people in our state living paycheck to paycheck, so even $13 to $15 a month can have an impact on those that are scraping by. And so with that being said, I appreciate that you're working on steps, and you said you'll have something soon. When can we, what are you thinking, how soon?
I don't know, and I hate to put a time frame on it. And the reason I say that is I don't want to be in the position that I thought through today in bringing you something. I want to bring you something that's meaningful. So I would say keep my feet to the fire. If we get to June and you haven't heard anything, I think that's a problem.
I'm going to be asking you every month.
I think that's fair, and I will tell you that we'll be working on it daily
Okay.
within the next month. I would love to have something for you in January.
Okay.
I'm going to stop short of guaranteeing that, but I would love to have something for you in January.
We'll keep the discussion going, so thank you.
Perfect.
Yes, Deb?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for that report. I don't share Lisa's sentiment in that I've been on the board for 8 years, and there's never been a finding of any serious note during our audit. And as a matter of fact, we have always had one of the cleanest audits of any of the state agencies for many, many years. I'm really proud of our finance team. They're allowed a mistake every once in a while, and this is a mistake. I know Dr. Maher can't say this, but I can, that could have been caught on the other end as well. And so I think that it's really awesome that our commissioner is taking responsibility for this, but I think that there's many ways this could have been stopped, but actually the system worked exactly the way it's supposed to work, which is it was found during the audit, which is what an audit is all about. So I'm really proud of our finance team. They're very respected in the legislature because of the work they do. And this is one bump, and I think that they're allowed certainly to have a bump every once in a while. So that's all I have to say.
Any further questions or comments?
Is this the line item, or is there another item to talk about it?
Well, so Commissioner, then I'll just ask this. So we have item 3.4, Tax Equity and Educational Opportunities Support Act, as item 3.4. We're not addressing it later in the agenda?
That item, I think, is for, I'm looking for Bryce Wilson. Is he in the room? There he is. That item is a separate item regarding TIOSA and the biennium.
Oh, okay, so this is the time.
Okay.
If you have any questions about what the auditor found.
I
Would you
do.
like to continue?
I would like to continue. So the commissioner came to committees yesterday and explained everything, and I have a little bit to say here. That's $30 million of taxpayer dollars. And there were some safety nets that failed, and we went through it. It starts at NDE, then NDE again, then the school, then back to NDE again, and then back to the school, and then thank goodness Auditor Mike Foley found that. So I'd like to concentrate on when it goes to the school. So the finance department takes everything that's from the OPS, saw they were getting at this huge gain of tens of millions of dollars, and didn't question it. The superintendent saw it and didn't question it. And I'm going to give him some slack because the superintendent is a first-year superintendent, and that's a lot. The TIOSA formula is a nightmare. It is a game. It is a joke. And as a first-year superintendent, he is relying heavily on his finance department. So the superintendent takes what he is given, although the buck stops with him, brings it to the school board, who I can guarantee you has no idea how the TIOSA formula works, again, because it is a game and a joke. And a fun fact here, only 50 out of 245 school districts received dollars from the TIOSA formula. That's not very equitable and inclusive, Deborah, is it? The OPS board approves the school budget, which relies on the TIOSA funds, and they spend every penny. tens of millions of dollars. Not a single soul questioned the extra tens of millions, not one person. If I'm sitting on that board and I say, ooh, look at this, wouldn't you be taking second looks at what's going on? This is taxpayer dollars. So I do know, Dr. Maher and Bryce did mention that you're able as a school administrator or finance director to look back at NDE. Can you explain how you can come back and log in to check what we talked about a little bit? How many schools came back and logged in to look at their funding source that we talked about yesterday?
I don't have that written down, so I'm going to go by memory here.
Okay.
And I'm sure I'll be close. So I know that we have 244 school districts, and 134 of the 244 school districts actually logged in. You can log in and check the data elements as a school district. In fact, 134 of our districts did that.
Okay. Of the three in question here, did they all come back, log in and look? Because you can trace who's logging into the system.
We know who logged into the system. And of the three schools that I identified earlier, the Grand Island Public Schools and the Southern Public Schools in Wymore did log in to check their data.
So OPS getting all this money, huge amount of money, $30 million of tax dollars, and they didn't double check. So that's an interesting comment, and we can tell that by their login data. So Deb, you're going to love this part here, and I need you to listen to me carefully because you struggle with what I say. OPS and two others of lesser degree stole, that's the word I'm going to use, stole educational dollars from the other 47 deserving school districts. They stole the hard-earned tax dollars of every citizen in the state from Crawford to Falls City. Didn't even blink. We're getting all this money, let's spend it all. Only three options to what actually happened: complete incompetence, a joke of a school funding formula that is very hard to understand, or it was intentional. You choose. And I'm going to end with this, and as it is germane to this agenda item. Deb, the next time you have an issue with me, first of all, get your facts straight before going behind my back and falsely accusing me of something I didn't say on a KFAB interview. Oh. I'm still talking. Okay. Why accuse me of something that is actually recorded and your accusation can be proven false? Why would you go to the state executive committee and state you want to publicly reprimand me for something I didn't say? Then force Elizabeth to call me last night to discuss the lie you perpetrated in the committee. This is how Deb Neary works: falsehoods and accusations with no facts to back them up. You were concerned about the word fired, never said it. I used the same words that Dr. Maher and Elizabeth used. Same words. This is how you run. You say things, come back and apologize. Not this time. If everybody wants to listen to the KFAB interview when I said that the person is no longer with the department, go ahead and listen to it. But we're tired of it. I'm done.
I'm trying to find the email that I sent. Does anyone have it? Because I can't remember. Because I use the exact words, and I'm not going to debate the details of this because it's an HR matter. Is this the email that I sent? Okay. The exact words that you used were the employee has been let go. That is an exact phrase of what you said. So it did deserve a discussion. How our board president decided to handle it is why we elected her. And so if she felt that it merited a phone call, then maybe that's between you and her. But it is my job to point out when someone has spoken inappropriately on a radio show and given misinformation that is a personal, private HR matter that shouldn't be discussed publicly. So that's all I have to say, and I'm sad about your comments about OPS. No one stole anything. A mistake was made, the process worked, an audit was done, and it makes me sad that we're turning this into something, 30 million is a big deal, but it worked. The system worked, just exactly the way it's supposed to. So I'm sorry that I don't consider it stealing money in the same way. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So for clarification, as chair of the executive committee, you were quoted in our committee as saying that the person was fired. And there was a conversation in the committee about if a board member is miscommunicating information in a public manner, that, and I believe, Deb, what you said was, this is a leadership issue, and I'm not the president, so you need to address it. And we decided as an executive committee to not address it in the public meeting, though now it is, and that it would be addressed in a phone call. So I'm not really sure why now I'm the fall guy when I was doing exactly what you requested I do during our executive committee. So.
I'm not making, I am complimenting you for being a leader and doing your job.
Thank you.
Because that's a hard thing to do, and I appreciate that. And I also said during the committee meeting, I'm going by memory. I'm sending you a copy of the radio interview so you can listen and verify for yourself before you take any action. I didn't want to overstep, and I wanted to make sure everyone had the actual interview to listen to, which I'm assuming you did. I compliment you for your leadership, because there's been a lot of missteps that haven't been addressed, and privately was exactly how we all agreed we wanted it handled. So no one wanted a public discussion of this, and I'm sad that you're making it one.
Yeah, if I'm accused of saying something that I'm not, that you're not man enough to come talk to me about it,
Okay.
hold on. That's the issue.
Okay.
You always backtrack on what you're doing, and I'm not gonna go any
Okay,
further with this.
Maybe this, I really feel like this conversation can be held privately. And so I will say that I did not get this email until after I had logged off my computer and left the building and did not log on again until this morning. So I had addressed it with Kirk instantly, well, as instantly as I could. So we will move on. Oh, yes, Liz.
Just want to make one comment that it was a unanimous decision to encourage Elizabeth to reach out to you, and it was not brought up as a mandatory, it wasn't a directive. Deborah had concerns, and so I just want to make clear that it was a group decision, and also a group decision that this was a simple conversation that the president of the board could have with you. So I just want to make sure it's on the record that we all agreed to the conversation.
All right, Lisa.
I would like to end this segment, though, with what actually needs to be brought up for the public. This is a tense time because the majority of us board members do understand that this is a huge mistake, and we are all taking it very seriously. And because of that, sometimes that can lead to some tension, but none of us are going to lose sight of the fact that we will be holding our commissioner accountable to make sure that this does not happen again. And so let's keep the focus where it needs to be, which is we're going to hold you to the fire.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights on your microphones, I'm going to return the meeting back to the commissioner for the remainder of his commissioner's report.
Well, my feet are a little warmer at this point. Yeah, that's right. Couple of other topics. Number one, a little bit lighter. I would tell you that regarding the President's Physical Fitness Test, the administration of the President's Physical Fitness Test is again an option for schools across the country. And when I first read about this, I got to tell you, I'm not sure I was thinking as a commissioner, because I think nostalgia kind of set in for me. I remember years ago being motivated by the award and my pursuit of it. And then I remember my kids also being motivated by the award some years back. And I started thinking more practically, what might this mean? What could this mean for kids across the state of Nebraska? And I thought this could be a very good incentive to go along with the many things that we already do to promote good health in our kids across Nebraska. And I bring this to you knowing that it could be a political topic, but I'm bringing this to you in the most apolitical way that I can, thinking that this is good for kids in our state. I talked with superintendents at our November Superintendent's Advisory Council and asked their opinion on moving forward with this topic, and there was support, and I would even say general enthusiasm for the move. I've had preliminary conversations within our staff, specifically with teaching and learning, to talk about what would we have to do, what might this move look like. And I'm not ready today to talk to you about the details, but I will be for sure by February and probably by January. So I'll be more committal on that, to talk about what this could look like as an option for schools in the state of Nebraska. Today, this is simply information. We'll continue to work internally to see what we might be able to do to continue to promote healthy lifestyles in the students of our state. Okay, next, I want to talk to you about another topic that we've been working on for a good long time in general, and that's literacy. But I want to talk today specifically about Nebraska Leads Literacy and ask Dr. Stavum to come forward to present to you on what is it that we're doing now. We talked a couple of months ago. We've had some financing come through. I'm happy to tell you today, I believe we're putting some very good strategy in place, and we have a vision for where we're headed. Dr. Stavum, would you please take it from there?
Sure. Good morning, board members, Dr. Maher and Dr. Four. I'm pleased to update you this morning on work that continues to build on the great work that's already happening in Nebraska toward our shared goal of elevating reading proficiency and academic achievement for all students across Nebraska. Just to walk us back a few steps, there is already great work happening toward this effort due to the priorities set by our legislators, our governor, and certainly the Commissioner and Board of Education. The most recent addition has been the addition of the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant, or CLSD as we typically call it. Due to the clarity that's been put around this priority and the challenge given to educational leaders across the state by the Commissioner, many other supporting organizations and agencies are stepping up to support literacy and the science of reading. This past summer, the board approved the funds from the Sherwood Foundation, which allows us to add now an additional layer of assurance in the form of leadership development in partnership with Bailey Educational Group as an initial partner. As we launch this opportunity for Nebraska leaders, we're calling this initiative Nebraska Leads Literacy. As a department, we want to make sure that every school district, every school, and every leader has the capacity to lead this work well, while also building a strong statewide network and a culture of best practice. Leaders will have the opportunity to participate in a cohort model of learning, which we're going to launch in late March, and we hope some of you will be able to be there with us. This is a multi-year initiative that also allows us to add new opportunities along the way and recognize this work as we also look forward to showcasing spotlight schools and designations of districts of distinction. We are excited to launch the work, and I truly believe this supports all of the other work happening, maximizing the dollars and the training that's being offered for long-term sustainability. I also think this will be an initiative that, as we continue, allows many other supporting organizations. Many have indicated interest in supporting roles, and I think this is really something that, as we look across the profile of literacy instruction and engagement, this elevates our entire state for what then happens in the classrooms for Nebraska students. So we're excited to get started, and I would stand by for any questions that you may have. All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, good.
I do. So, and maybe this is not specifically about this new initiative, but about the literacy project as a whole. And since I'm not on planning eval, I don't get those updates and get to talk to you about these. One thing that I am a little maybe uncertain about how this is being handled is when we first approved, and even before we approved the literacy plan, it was communicated to us that the goal was to train all the teachers in Nebraska about the science of reading and evidence-based reading instruction. And we know that the bulk of the money that we have received is through the federal CLSD grant, and that we give out sub-grants for that money. And so not every teacher's school or district is receiving that money. And so my question is, what is the plan to roll this out to all 23,000 odd number of teachers in our state, to ensure that teachers all across the state have the same opportunity and not just the ones who are recipients of the grant funding?
Great question. Thank you for asking it. I think this is the unique part of what's happening in our state right now, is there are multiple layers of things that are aimed at improving literacy proficiency. So statutorily, teachers are required to be trained, and that work is happening through our regional literacy coaches, through our ESUs, through training that maybe school districts have engaged with some of the dollars that they have, title funding, whatever those resources might be to accomplish that goal. Then we have the CLSD grant, which is a specific grant that districts had to apply for, and 44 districts have received that funding. That's a next layer that adds additional supports that also is in alignment with the statutory requirements. This initiative now adds the leadership aspect to that, which I think rounds everything out very nicely and allows us to look at it as a complete district package in terms of leadership, as well as classroom level training and work that's done all to support literacy instruction. But it is a little bit of point of confusion, because some of this happened back in 2018-ish with some of the legislative requirements. Now CLSD started kind of 2 years ago. We're in year one of a full cycle of that work. Now we'll add the leadership piece, which will be a new component. We have some really good graphics, which we might bring to our next committee meetings and get to the full board, that just talks about the path of literacy development and the science of reading in the state of Nebraska, because you're not the only person who kind of wonders about all of those pieces and how they're happening. But definitely a statewide effort.
Oh, thank you. And I get that, I don't want to get too far. I know
That's a
like you
great
said,
question.
we're in year one, but we always want to know that the plan is in place to make sure that all teachers receive that, so all students
Right.
have that benefit. So thank you. Any other questions?
I would just add that there are resources being built out on the ND website that also articulate those different pieces that are happening well, with an effort to also help our districts have great clarity and to have a good resource for the different components.
Great. Lisa, you have?
Just a quick comment, and thank you for your transparency in the work that you guys are doing. I know it's a lot, and the transparency is key, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stabem. The next piece of the Commissioner's report will be led by David Jesperson, and David will introduce to you, for the final time in this go-round, our Teacher of the Year.
Good morning, David Jesperson, Office of Public Information and Communications, here to introduce Lindsay Wilson, our 2025 Teacher of the Year for the last time. And her year started with a box with question marks on it. And over the last 11 months, I think she's filled in the box with a lot of love and a lot of representation of Nebraska's across the state. She's visited different states. She's visited different teaching colleges, different schools across the state. But one thing that she has done the entire year is represent Nebraska's in the best possible way. So for the final time, here is Lindsay Wilson, our 2025 Nebraska Teacher of the Year.
It's hard to believe it's the last time. Well, thank you for having me one last time. Good morning. It is hard to believe that I sat here nearly a year ago giving my first state board presentation. I was hopeful for a year full of adventure and meaningful work and unique experiences. I imagined tons of challenges that could help me grow, but opportunities where I could make a difference, but I hadn't quite dreamed of. But here's the thing. I had no idea, not even a clue, how much bigger, bolder, and more extraordinary this year would turn out to be. I didn't get just a year full of adventure. This year hit on a whole new level. I found myself traveling across the country and even the world, speaking to teachers and future educators and students in more than 75 presentations. I watched my middle schoolers lead huge projects, collaborating with professionals from across the state, and helped to present their work on international stages. Looking back, I am amazed, not just by the opportunities, but by the people who have been part of this journey. I am walking away from this year with 56 phenomenal new friends from across the country, new friends from as far away as China, my Nebraska Teacher of the Year family, and countless colleagues that I've had the privilege to collaborate with. I have to recognize some very special people and organizations who made this possible. First, I want to thank all of you, the Nebraska State Board of Education, for your unwavering support for teachers, students, and the future of education in our state. Your commitment makes this work possible. To the CCSSO and the National Teacher of the Year Network, thank you for providing the opportunities to connect, learn, and grow alongside incredible educators. The collaboration, inspiration, and knowledge I've gained through this network has been truly transformative. And of course, David Jesperson, my state coordinator, and yes, I call him my handler. David, you've pushed me and guided me and helped me navigate this whirlwind of a year with grace, wisdom, and a ton of humor. I could not have done it without you, and honestly, I probably wouldn't have survived some of the crazier travel moments either. Finally, I want to celebrate the 2026 finalists and the newest Nebraska State Teacher of the Year, Sarah Hardin. I had the privilege of meeting with them all last night at our reception, and I am thrilled for another incredible year ahead just for her. I cannot wait to see what she brings to this role, and Nebraska is so lucky to have teachers like those finalists and Sarah representing the amazing teachers from across our state. While I haven't fully processed this year and what it's provided, I do know one thing. that this year has made me stronger, better, and more grateful for the people that I surround myself with. My team, my family, my colleagues, they are the ones who push me to be a better version of myself and inspire me to keep asking, what if? If you would have asked me a year ago to predict what this year would bring, I wouldn't have even come close. The experiences, the connections, the growth, it's beyond anything that I could have ever possibly imagined. And now, having been catapulted into this whirlwind of learning, collaboration, and service, it's time to continue the work. At my district level, I facilitated professional learning for teachers, supported inquiry-based and student-centered learning, and shared insights on effective teaching practices. I also collaborated with students on research projects and clubs and events that allowed them to explore, lead, and showcase their work, while creating opportunities for teachers and families in the broader community to engage in that learning process. At the state and national level, I had the privilege of sharing ideas and connecting with fellow educators and learning from leaders in education. I presented at conferences, visited universities, and participated in panels and podcasts that highlighted the work of teachers and students. These experiences allowed me to bring back new insights and inspiration to support support learning in Nebraska and beyond. Globally, this year took me all the way to China to collaborate with educators in the Sino-US Symposium for STEM teaching and AI in education. There, I shared strategies for curiosity-driven learning and building cultures of collaboration. I participated in international discussions of teacher leadership, evaluation reform, and innovation in education. And through all of this, I've come to see the ripple effect of intentional collaborative work, that when we invest in our students, teachers, and communities, the impact spreads far beyond a single classroom or a district. It inspires other educators to spark student curiosity and strengthens the culture of learning across our state and our nation. But what has stuck with me the most is that none of this could have happened alone. Behind every keynote and every PD session, every student success, are the people who lift me up. My family, my colleagues, my district, and the mentors who have guided me along the way. Their support reminds me that the impact is never a solo effort. It's built together, intentionally, with care, and with purpose. As I reflect on all that has happened this year, the lessons are simple for me, but profound. Gratitude fuels growth. Recognizing the people and experiences that support us gives us purpose to every action. Curiosity drives innovation. Asking what if opens the doors to learning that we never thought possible. And lastly, courage ignites that impact. When we challenge the status quo and trust our students, the results are extraordinary. Last year, I came in here telling you that my words for the year were disrupt and inspire. All about challenging the status quo and expanding what's possible in classrooms and inspiring students and colleagues to think bigger and bolder. It's about showing up fully as a disruptor, creating spaces where curiosity, creativity, and courage can thrive. This year, I've decided that my word will be intention. I want every project I take on, every collaboration I engage in, and every action I choose to have purpose and focus. I will continue mentoring teachers, supporting student innovation, and advocating for this profession, but with intentionality guiding each step. Make no mistake, I will still be a disruptor. I will still push boundaries and ask, what if? And challenge the status quo, because that's what students and teachers deserve. Every intentional choice will amplify the impact of our disruption, turning bold ideas into meaningful growth and inspiration for all of those around us. This year has reminded me that being extra and being bold and being a little bit rebellious, that it's not just okay, but it's absolutely necessary. The world needs rebel educators who inspire, who expand what's possible, and who refuse to settle for good enough. So let's keep pushing, let's keep inspiring, and let's keep creating spaces where students, teachers, and communities can rise, shine, and lead. I leave you with this always, but stay curious, take risks, lift others up, and keep asking what if. Because when we do, we don't just shape classrooms, we shape the future of education itself. Thank you.
At this time, we'll open up for any board member comments. Liz, and then Sherry, and then Liz.
Oh,
Okay.
That's all right. I just wanted to say, Lindsay, that I believe we were blessed to have you represent Nebraska, and I think you did it so well. And you will always be a Nebraska Teacher of the Year. That's something you get to take with you for life. And may you continue to inspire your students and fellow teachers and others, and may you carry on with intention. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you so much, and we got a chance to talk last night, and I just wanted to say out loud what I said to you, which is I appreciated so much that you showed up as yourself each time that you came to us, and I have no doubt you brought that to everything you did, and I respect that, and you're modeling great, it's a great example for students and other teachers, and I also have been meaning to compliment you on your PowerPoint game, because it's solid, and I enjoy the photos and all of it. It's really great. But thank you so much for all you brought to your title this year.
Thank you so much.
I just have one question.
Oh.
What was in the box?
I can't tell you. I really can't. I get asked that often. One of my favorite memories, I actually had texted David to let him know this, but one of my first presentations I did was to a group of high schoolers, and I did that activity. And recently, I just visited Doane University, and I had done my whole keynote and everything, and all of a sudden, I said, does anyone have questions? And a young man in the back raised his hand, and he goes, what's in the box? And it clicked in that moment that I had not seen him for 11 months. But for 11 months, he was thinking to himself, what is in that box? And it just shows that it doesn't take a lot to get people to be curious and inspired by what you're doing. And so that's been kind of the metaphor for the year. So I won't tell you.
Deborah?
I just want to ditto what's all been said. You've inspired us quite a lot over the last year, and with your comments last night, truly appreciate it. And also want to just say thanks to David Jesperson, who does an amazing job. He's grown the whole program, and I think we should rename the event that we had last night the Teacher of the Year / David Jesperson Show, because you're really good at that. And also acknowledge we have at least one former Teacher of the Year in the audience, Patsy Kojans. I don't know do we have others? But it was fun to see all the Teachers of the Year last night, the past ones. I've gotten to know 8 since I've been on the board, 8 personally. And it's been amazing, not just what they accomplished during their year, but since then. And it will be exciting to continue to watch all that you continue to do for your students and for our state. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to kind of close up and say, I got to sit by Lori Flaster last night, and I know that you are going to, even though you are being retired from traveling, and you're going to continue to inspire. I mean, Lori went ahead and filled out, after being nominated, filled out her application, for those of you who didn't know this, because Lindsay had come to Lexington Public Schools and she had met her and been encouraged to do that. And so just like your impact and the fingerprints you leave on your students never ends. It also has an impact on teachers all across our state, so thank you for that. And I would be curious if you left the box unsupervised. Wouldn't that be a fun experiment to see
I brought two.
who would get it in, who would get into it? I would love that because, yeah.
Well, I did bring one for the board, so we'll see how long it lasts.
So, all right. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
Lindsay. Commissioner, back to you again.
Okay. I was supposed to begin with this item, but I didn't. There are no items that have been identified to be removed from the consent agenda. If board members wish to remove items from the consent agenda, please fill out the form at this time. Any items that are removed from the consent agenda will be taken up under additional business. I will close by saying that we usually put together some good-natured bets. We don't bet anything, but bets in the office of what time the meeting will actually get over. And I said, my guess is the commissioner's report will really extend the time of the meeting today. I believe I just set a record for commissioner's report in my 2.5 years here. I hope never to break that record. That concludes my report.
So I'm a little confused. Have we hit agenda item 3.4, Tax Equity and Educational Opportunity Support Act, TIOSA information? He said we didn't. He said that was something separate for Bryce. No?
I believe that is the item that we addressed in the commissioner's
Okay.
report.
All right. Thank you.
There's yet a different, not to confuse it,
Okay.
there's an even different item yet. Thank you.
All right. So agenda item 4, President's Report. Because the commissioner talks so much, I won't give a report today. And moving on to public comment, at this time, there are 0 people signed up for public comments. So my bet might be off for the time that the meeting ends. Agenda item 6. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Per board policy, there is no discussion on the motion to adopt the consent agenda. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the consent agenda is adopted. The next item of business are the reports from the standing committees. I will report on behalf of the executive committee. The executive committee reports on its December 4th, 2025 meeting. Members present were Chair Elizabeth Tegmeyer, Vice Chair Deb Neary, Sherry Jones, and Liz Renner. The committee reviewed 3 action items. First, the committee reviewed the proposed strategic plan. NDE staff provided a review of the document. The committee recommends the board approve the strategic plan. Next, the committee reviewed the proposed board bylaw and policy revisions as recommended by NDE staff. The committee recommends the board approve the proposed bylaw and policy revisions. Finally, the committee reviewed the proposed awarding of the improvement grant. NDE staff provided information on this item. The committee recommends the board approve the awarding of the improvement grant. The committee also reviewed 2 information items. First, the committee received a report from the commissioner on input concerning contract abrogation terms and whether any change is needed. Second, the committee reviewed the recommendation of an appointment to the Nebraska Assistive Technology Partnership Advisory Council. This item appeared on the consent agenda for approval. This concludes the Executive Committee report. Elizabeth Tegmeyer, Chair. Are there any questions on the Executive Committee report? Is there a motion on item 7.1.a?
I move to adopt the 2026-2030 Nebraska Department of Education Strategic Plan.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the 2026 through 2030 Nebraska Department of Education Strategic Plan. Is there any discussion on the motion? Deborah?
I just want to give a big shout out to the staff who did a heroic job of making sure that we heard from stakeholders across the state, did the work in a timely manner, engaged the board constantly so that our voice is definitely throughout the document, and put in place a strong emphasis on implementation of the grant. This is of the plan. This isn't going to sit on a shelf like some strategic plans do. And really proud of what we all accomplished together, but really impressed with how the staff facilitated all these conversations and brought forward this document. So thank you to all of you.
Any other questions or comments? I know all board members were provided with a hard copy of the plan, and for members of the public, it is available on our agenda online. Okay. Well, seeing no further questions, the motion is to adopt the 2026-2030 Nebraska Department of Education Strategic Plan. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Douglas,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the 2026-2030 Nebraska Department of Education Strategic Plan is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.1.b?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to adopt the proposed board bylaw and policy revisions.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed board bylaw and policy revisions. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes,
Sherry?
may I? This includes the public comment,
Yes.
didn't it? And I think a number of us members, we wanted to make sure that the public was welcome to present items or talk about things that were beyond just the current action items. And I think it's very important because sometimes our constituency may not be able to get here every month, and they need to have an opportunity to present on any board relevant to the work of the board, have that opportunity. So I'm very pleased to say that that is included in our revisions. Thank you.
So for members who aren't on the executive committee, anything under the purview or authority of the board can be addressed in our bylaws. We do have a minor change to when a member of the public does begin, we do ask that they state their name, their city and state, and then the topic that they will be discussing in their public comment. So we've just added that little, and that will take effect at our January board meeting next month. Any other questions? Okay, well, we just had a few minor changes. They did such a good job 2 years ago. We didn't have to do a lot. The motion is to adopt the proposed board bylaw and policy revisions. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the proposed board bylaw and policy revisions is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.1.c?
Yes, I have a motion. I move to authorize the commissioner to grant funds for the Learning Platform Improvement Grant Project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to authorize the commissioner to grant funds for the Learning Platform Improvement Grant Project. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes, I would like to offer rationale for my upcoming vote. From what I understand, schools have not asked for this. It is primarily vendor initiated. Number two, I do not believe most parents would be in favor of their children spending more time on video games. Number three, I do not believe we need more screen time in our schools. I believe a decrease in screen time would be beneficial. And I do not believe this would be a good use of our taxpayer money. Thus, I will be voting no.
Any other? Lisa?
As I delved into this one, obviously, I've always been pretty vocal. I think that putting our kids in front of screens more is not the answer, and I don't just think that. There is a plethora of research out there that supports that claim. It's something that I've written blogs about, I've done a lot of research on it. And so when I actually saw this one come across, I had to dig in a little bit more. And so a state that's currently using it is North Carolina, and they've spent millions on it. And after spending millions on it, they've had nearly 80% of licenses to use the game, costing a total of $1.4 million, not being activated for exactly the reason why you said, Sherry. It's because teachers don't have time to do one more thing, and this is one more thing that could actually be detrimental to our kids based on the fact that we already have kids on screens far too much. And so I am almost always opposed to having kids in front of screens more, and this is one of those examples.
Deborah?
This is one of those times where it's important to acknowledge that we live in an imperfect world. And it's a policy that we wish I'll just say this was approved by the legislature. It's money that's going to be spent. And so the decision is, do we make sure and ensure that this is spent with an educational focus instead of just having some kind of game out there? Because if the education department doesn't spend the money, it is going to go to another department and be spent. So I think that inside of that, I think there's a lot that we can learn from this opportunity. Whether we like it or not, kids are using platforms and depend on platforms, in order to do some of their learning. And so we might as well use this as a pilot opportunity for us. And as I said, the money was approved by the legislature. It isn't us approving the money. So, thank you.
I just want to add one note. Lisa, I share your concerns and Sherry's as well. One thing that made this easier for me to recommend for approval was the way the Department of Ed set this up. It is operating like a pilot program. So where North Carolina, I think, spent a bulk of money, committed to a big contract up front, and then saw no return on that investment, essentially, we're setting it up as, here's some seed money. try it out. If there is interest and activity and benefit found in the districts that adopt this for that time period, then we can talk about expanding. But we're not giving a blank check. It's up to a certain amount, but not guaranteed. So that, to me, those guardrails made me feel a lot more comfortable with this, but I hear your concerns.
Maggie?
Just a quick question, and sorry if I misunderstood this already. Is this something that would go to all school districts, or is it just if school districts apply or want it?
It would be available to any district that would like to do it.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Sherry?
I want to add one thing to add to Deborah's information, that there are 3 areas that improvement grant funds can be used for. One is for teacher recruitment and retention, improvement for schools and school districts, improvement in student performance in the subjects areas of reading and math, and other improvement areas identified by the state board. That's 1. 2, learning platform, which this is. And 3, centralized education record systems for students under the jurisdiction of the juvenile court and the employment of registrars. So this money, if I understand correctly, could be put back into those other areas for use. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, someone. Thank you.
All right, any further questions or comments? The motion is to authorize the commissioner to grant funds for the Learning Platform Improvement Grant Project. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Douglas,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
No.
Renner,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Jones,
No.
Penner,
No.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
5 yes, 3 no.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to authorize the commissioner to grant funds for the Learning Platform Improvement Grant is adopted. Agenda item 7.2, Chair Kristen Christensen will report on behalf of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting.
The Budget and Finance Committee reports that at its Thursday, December 4th meeting, members present were Kristen Christensen, Maggie Douglas, Kirk Penner, and Lisa Schoenhoff. The committee reviewed 4 action items. The first item reviewed was for a potential contract related to a high-quality IEP development and implementation pilot project. The committee recommends approval of this item. The second action item reviewed was a potential contract with the OCIO's office for federally required IDEA and early childhood data reporting systems, and recommended approval of this item. Next, the committee reviewed a potential contract for a Veterans Education Management System application and database. The committee recommends approval of this item. And the last action item reviewed was for a possible contract to evaluate the 21st Century Learning Centers. The committee recommends approval of this item. The committee then reviewed 1 discussion item for board member travel expenses, noting no concerns. Last, the committee reviewed 4 information items, including an update on the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant expenditures, the trust fund budget for the Nebraska Center for the Education of Children who are blind or visually impaired, a potential contract for the Nebraska Inclusive Systems Capacity Project, and a TIOSA information update. This concludes the Budget and Finance report. Kristen Christensen, Chair.
Are there any questions on the Budget and Finance Committee report? Are there any questions on the reports in item 7.2.A? Is there a motion on item 7.2.B?
Yes, I move to authorize the commissioner to contract for the high-quality IEP development and implementation pilot project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to authorize the Commissioner to contract for the high-quality IEP development and implementation pilot project. Is there any discussion on the motion? Sherry?
Yes, Madam Chair. May I ask Amy Roan
Yes.
to come up, please? And as Amy is coming, just know that Amy was peppered with many questions, and I really appreciated her giving me the time and the thoughtful answers to my questions. And I brought these questions to her from two different perspectives. I'm a former special educator. I wrote IEPs for 12 years, so I've been there, done that, and I have empathy for our special education teachers fully. I also represent my constituents who are taxpayers, and I want to be good stewards of their money. So my questions were based on those things. And so I just want to share some of the things. And then Amy, I would like Amy to respond to the ones that she thinks are pertinent and what could give people a better understanding of what this is about. Okay. So I asked Amy, how many school districts or schools or teachers will be involved in this? And she supplied me with an answer of that, 258 licenses. At the end of this 5-year period, or 4-year period, will we be dependent on goal books, which could cost us millions of dollars in the future if we are dependent upon goal books? Because this is costing us $1.25 million for the next 4 years. Could the assistance to special educators, which I think is real and needed, be achieved through more sustainable means, such as our educator preparation programs, which I believe are critical? A special educator should be prepared to do IEPs when they leave their college preparation time. If they're not, I would liken it to a pilot not knowing how to run the dashboard of the plane. That's how integral IEPs are to special educators, I believe. Will this help retain, and actually, I didn't ask this question, but afterwards I asked her more about it. Will this help retain special education teachers and draw individuals to the field of special education? Because we have a shortage on our hands. Did districts or teachers voice a need for this? Or was it vendor generated, which I don't think it is, but. And I saw on the Goalbook's website that it provides a Goalbook toolbox. And could this be utilized? And Amy told me why that may not be possible, because I thought that could have been cheaper. So I know I put a lot of questions out there, but would you just address the ones that you think are pertinent and important for people to know? Thank you.
Yes, I'm Amy Roan. I'm the Administrator and State Director of the Office of Special Education. Okay, so I'm going to try and package all of the questions into a sort of simple answer. I think the Nebraska Department of Education ultimately recognizes and understands the shortage crisis that is all teachers. We have a shortage of all educators, but our largest educator shortage is in the field of special education. So that was the first priority in the creation of this, we call it the HQ IEP pilot project. First and foremost, as I explained to Sherry earlier, our pipeline for teachers coming out of educator prep programs specifically for special education has dwindled significantly over the years. We don't have people who want to be special educators from high school, go into college. Used to be, we might be able to convince a few elementary focused people or high school focused people to shift along the way. That just doesn't happen anymore. In fact, we see more special education initial focus shifting to elementary or secondary and leaving the field of special education. So in multiple attempts to try and gather the root of that problem, it really does come down to the perception that being a special education teacher is significantly harder due to the federally required mandates and paperwork and all of the components that go along with also being an instructor to children. So we sought a vendor through this process that really understood the complexity that exists there. So this is not just a program that will enable special education teachers who are called case managers on the IEP development side to build better IEPs, but also we were very specific in looking for someone who would provide the professional development and sustainable knowledge of the individuals who have to create these systems. Currently, the IEP requirements itself are extensive, but it requires knowledge to be able to fill in the multiple fields that exist on an IEP. And it was fun, and I teased Kurt yesterday and said, or this morning and said I might tag him in to this conversation because in our committee we discussed these exact questions. And though several members on the committee have had the opportunity to either develop IEPs or be a part of the development because it is a team approach. So we teased and said, Kurt, you want to lesson quick, but it wouldn't be quick, right? Because although our educator prep programs, I believe, are trying to instill the knowledge that is needed, we also have people who are entering the field of special education not from educator prep programs. They're coming through either reciprocal programs. We have other states who are certifying educators not through educator prep programs. We have certification processes and endorsements that are allowed not through programs. So it is also the responsibility of the district, once a case manager special education teacher is employed, to continuously professionally develop them. So our hope is that this is a system that not only provides an individual, a special education teacher, case manager, the support they need to develop a rich IEP that not only aligns to the grade level learning that that student deserves, but also gives some instructional strategies and supports so that they can be the instructor, not just the paperwork pusher. So that is really the main component of that. I'm trying to think of all of the questions, see if I haven't hit on something. I want to address sustainability, if you don't mind, I'll get to that. So while this is a pilot program, I explained to Sherry and the committee yesterday, we put this proposal in place because we haven't necessarily selected the pilot district, but we estimated the costs based on the largest district in Nebraska, how many special education teacher licenses we would need to purchase. So if we select the largest district in Nebraska, we have come to the board for approval to get every single license. Just because there's 253 licenses available doesn't necessarily mean that those are the only individuals who will require the professional learning and development and growth, because a team is responsible for writing an IEP, not just an individual. So really thinking about this as a holistic approach to strengthening IEP development for the pilot district. And then our hope is that we are able to show proof points along the way. And that was very specifically outlined in our request for a vendor, that they would be able, we have 3 main special education conferences throughout the year that we will ask this vendor to specifically come and say, these are the outcomes based on the deliverables that the NDE has set forward. And here is the progress that we're making in improving outcomes for students with disabilities. One of the things that we've found from the Office of Special Education's federally required monitoring process is that oftentimes IEPs are just a part of what we do. We make sure we cross the T and dot the I, but we don't necessarily understand the instructional requirements that we just outlined in a legally required plan. So really making those plans come to life in the instruction that we're providing to a really, really, and in fact, most vulnerable student population.
I'm going to add one thing that Amy mentioned. The standards, goal books will have to insert our Nebraska standards, and typically on the website, when I was looking, I thought, why not just use their toolkit, districts that want to use this? Well, they would be using Common Core, and we do not follow Common Core standards, so I thought that was an important point.
Yeah, the system itself will have to be tailored to meet not only the state's standards and state needs, but also the districts. So whatever district they work with. Nebraska Department of Education and the state does not have an state IEP system. So each district gets to choose whichever system, IEP writing system they want. I talk with my hands, I'm sorry. This system will have to be able to plug into whichever system the district is using and give data back to the Nebraska Department of Education from whichever system they are using.
Anyone else? Lisa?
So after, you answered almost all my questions yesterday, but I came up with just a couple more easy ones. So after the pilot process, which may or may not be that full amount that's listed here, what happens? You're gonna give us all the proof points to determine whether we wanna keep using it. And then does the funding remain federal, or do we have to transfer that over to state?
So this will be completely funded with our state set-aside dollars that come to the Nebraska Department of Education through our federal allocation. So our hope is after this pilot project, we'll be able to prove to school districts that this might be something that they want to use. And then it would be up to them or up to me to then come to you all to say, hey, do we want to do another project? We would have to, so right now, this really aligns to our strategic priority, which is to improve literacy outcomes. If we write better quality instructional plans, which is the intent of an IEP, we will see outcomes improve specifically in literacy, but in all areas. But our hope is to bring the proof that districts might need additional support. And they could then use funds that they are allocated to either buy into the system, or we as a state might want to continue a project. But we will use those proof points to come forward in 4 years and say we want to do something else.
So would one of those proof points then be that we are seeing kids exit off IEPs?
That would be a really great proof point.
Yes.
So typically, not typically, required as part of IEP is progress monitoring. So if a student, with a disability doesn't necessarily end their disability, but they might end the specialized support that is needed that is written into the IEP. And so we really do hope, as you all probably know, we continue to increase our percentage of students identified each year for having a disability and needing specialized instruction. So those are two main key points. So our hope is that specialized instruction just becomes the way of life, not necessarily something that gets added on because you are identified as a student with a disability.
So I have a question then. Because this is a pilot, this would then come to the board. It would not be on the consent agenda in 4 years. If you would choose to continue this long-term.
This project will end in 4 years.
Okay.
So if we decide to do a new project, we would have to bring that project to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Amy. The motion is to authorize the commissioner to contract for the high-quality IEP development and implementation pilot project. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to authorize the commissioner to contract for the high-quality IEP development and implementation pilot project is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.2.c?
Yes, I move to authorize the commissioner to contract for a Veterans Education Management System application and database.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to authorize the commissioner to contract for a Veterans Education Management System application and database. Is there any discussion on the motion? Lisa, do you have one? No. Okay. All right, the motion is to authorize the commissioner to contract for a Veterans Education Management System application and database. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Christensen,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to authorize the commissioner to contract for a Veterans Education Management System application and database is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.2.d?
Yes, I move to authorize the commissioner to contract for 21st Century CCLC statewide evaluation.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to authorize the commissioner to contract for the 21st CCLC statewide evaluation. Is there any discussion on the motion? Oh, Sherry, and then Lisa.
Yeah, I was waiting for you.
Well, I just had the one question. Is it mandated that we evaluate these programs? I was just curious.
I was told yes. In order to get the money, they have to be evaluated by an outside vendor. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Okay. And so I had a couple things I wanted to mention, and I have one question. So this actually is to pay over $1.4 million for an outside vendor to review our after-school programs that are part of the coordinated or 21st Century Community Learning Centers statewide. So I had to get some clarification on that. And so these are programs that already exist, and so my question doesn't necessarily have to do exactly with the evaluation, but as I read through the booklet last night, and I meant to do it before last night, so I didn't get this question answered yesterday. It does seem that the after-school programs that are part of this program, which I also had to clarify is not All Stars, this specific program is showing some gains, and which is good, like in absenteeism and literacy. So very, very good things as I was reading through this booklet. So I know it's hard to see you underneath that screen. My question comes to the funding page, and it's the same question that I just asked Amy about the fact that if we're spending $1.4 million just on evaluating the program, and then you look at the program itself and how it's, we're provided federal funding for the first 5 years. My question is,
So Lisa, if you have a question, I'd like to call the staff member up.
is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And who would you like to call up?
Zainab.
Zainab, please. Yes, Dr. Rita, could you please come up?
And I wasn't sure if this was the best time to ask this question, but it goes with this
Absolutely.
piece.
Good morning, Zainab Rida, Student Service Officer.
Good morning. I know you answered so many of my questions yesterday, so
That
thank
is
you, thank
fine.
you. And I
Happy to
love
be
that
here.
you reminded me of this.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So my question is, how much are we spending statewide on this after-school program?
So we receive yearly $6 million.
Yearly, $6 million. So every year you get a little bit less, is that correct? Or is it, because it looks like you get 100% year 1, year 2, and year 3. 80% of that year 4 and year 5. So how is that covered? What happens with the funding? And then it looks like after year 5, you get nothing.
So for the school districts, yes. But for the state, we remain to get $6 million every year. And we have a 5 years cohort. So for each site, they have 5 years. And we reduce the amount every year because we want them to sustain that work. That's part of the the grant. So as you know, for the first year, they need more funds in order to build the foundation and everything, and then reduce it every year. So every year we open the competition every year in January, and then we fund based on the availability. So you need to also remember we have 5 cohorts, right? So 6 million, that means we divided on 5 different years. So some of the schools, they have it for 5 years, some for 4 years, and 3, and so. So that's what it shows in your report. It's based on the site. They're not receiving 100% every year, the funding. I hope that makes sense.
Do they have to work within those means, or do they have to get the funding somewhere else?
They have to sustain it somehow.
And the district decides?
And then it depends, on, so they can, there are many, we help them also with the fundraising and how to sustain that work. Some of them, the district, they invest in having the staff to work on the after-school program as they see the result of participating in 21st century.
But it could potentially fall on the taxpayers?
It could.
Yeah, okay, that was my question. But what we're voting on today is just to review what's already currently in place. Ensures accountability, continuous improvement, and alignment with evidence-based practices. That's all we're voting on it today.
Today's only on the contract for the evaluation.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay. Liz, you do? Okay.
I just had one quick question. I think we've discussed this before, but I just want to confirm, it's a 5-year contract or plan
For today, for the
for
evaluation?
this?
If we are satisfied, like it's a 1 year first, if we are satisfied with the evaluator, so there's potential to renew the contract the second year.
Okay. And will there be reporting on that to the board each year or at intervals that we can assess?
Absolutely, and I shared yesterday to the committee that for last year performance.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I think is important to consider when we're looking at something like this is not just the cost, but the cost that we're saving. And these types of out-of-school time prevention strategies, there's boatloads of research behind the impact that they have in reducing that school-to-prison pipeline, keeping kids out of trouble, helping kids improve their academic studies, et cetera, et cetera. And I like to tell people how much it costs for us to put somebody in the Juvenile Justice Center for 1 year or in prison for 1 year. And think about, these are the types of things, just for, if you only care about money and taxpayer money, these are the types of things that save us taxpayer money, because it is extremely expensive to put somebody in prison when they could instead, with these strategies, become a very successful tax-paying citizen. Thank you.
Dr. Rita, I have a question. So I'm a little confused because what I read in the rationale is, I feel like it maybe is a little different from what I'm hearing. In the rationale, it says that evaluation is a federal statutory requirement, And we at the NDE do not have the capacity to collect the necessary data and report. But I don't see, but then I think I heard that an outside evaluator is federally required here in this meeting.
It's federal required to have an evaluation.
Okay. But
But the evaluator, we do not have the capacity to do everything as other partner. We rely on the partners to do that, but it's not required to have an external.
And so my question would be, so the first year cost is $314,000. So is evaluating the program, is this a job that, I mean, like, how many FTEs, full-time employees would it take? Because I'm like, well, I mean, a salary plus benefit package is cheaper than $314,000. So is it, because I've never evaluated these after-school programs, I don't know how big of a project, what does this look like?
So this is up to, I mean, it doesn't have to be 340, so we always, so because there is external observation, there are surveys goes to the parents, to the students, and survey to the teachers. Collecting all this data and then combine them and to make sure that if there is an impact. We don't have the database, and I can ask Jill or somebody else to, because we have that discussion internally, how we can sustain this and have the evaluation component to be done at NDE. Currently, we don't have that capacity.
Okay.
But we are thinking about it, to
Right,
bring it to.
right. So so what I hear you saying is this is more than just, we need to add a staff. We would have to build the database
The
as well.
database, yes.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Thank you. Any other
Absolutely.
questions from board members? Thank you, Dr. Rita.
Absolutely.
The motion is to authorize the commissioner to contract for 21st CCLC statewide evaluation. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Jones,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to authorize the commissioner to contract for 21st CCLC statewide evaluation is adopted. We have had a request to have a break. The board is going to have a recess until 11 o'clock. We will reconvene at 11. If you could return to your seat, if members of the public and the board could return to their seats, we will begin again. The board meeting will resume. Board members, please take your seats. I've never had this many troubles. I need people to come back.
Oh, yeah, about 2 more minutes.
No, it's time. I use that.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah. Is that?
Are we ending? What were the bets? 12:15.
I think it's 11:45 now. Okay.
You think 11:45? Okay.
Okay. Okay, the board will resume. Please take your seats.
That's that teacher voice.
I know. Commissioner Maher, the recess is over. Staff, please resume your seats so we can return to our board meeting. Thank you.
That's great. I like that. Yes.
I mean, you'd think we were almost at Christmas break, as restless as you all are today. I feel like it's the day before break. It really does. We just need some candy and then a class gift exchange to really ramp up.
And a class movie.
And a movie. All right. Now we are at agenda item 7.3. Chair Lisa Schoenhoff will report on behalf of the Planning and Evaluation Committee meeting.
I'm Lisa Schoenhoff. The Planning and Evaluation Committee reports on the committee meeting on December 4th, 2025. The members present were Lisa Schoenhoff, Sherry Jones, Deborah Neary, and Kristen Christensen. The committee reviewed 2 action items related to the contract for the 26-27 Standard College Admission Test and the Assessment and Reporting Plan and Assessment Technical Report for 2025-26. The committee recommends board approval of these items. The committee reviewed a discussion item with NDE staff, providing a summary and answering questions related to the Community Achievement Plan of the learning community of Douglas and Sarpy counties. The committee reviewed informational items related to Social Studies Standards Review Update and the Priority School Designation Process Update. NDE staff will bring these items to a future meeting for discussion and subsequent approval where appropriate. This concludes the Planning and Evaluation Report, and I would just like to add that I thought we had very productive conversation yesterday, and it was a great meeting.
Any questions on the Planning and Evaluation Committee report? I have a question for the Planning and Eval Committee members, so anyone can take this. You mentioned priority schools and that we kind of put a pause on that. Can you just briefly, or someone from the committee, give the rest of the board an update? What's going on with that? What did you discuss?
So that was part of a good part of the conversation was thinking about that process. We kind of discussed why is there, I mean, obviously there's a stigma if you feel like your school is being put on that list because that means kids aren't doing well. And, but one of the questions that I had is how do we get to a point where we, as administrators, take the help with, graciously thinking this is kids that we need to raise achievement, and what is causing this stigma, and how can we maybe shift that mindset? And I don't know if that's possible or not, but that was some of the work that we did. And then maybe even, instead of just saying we're gonna pick from the 3 lowest performing schools, what if we broaden it just a little bit to see if maybe we can have a little more impact based on our professional expertise in working with some different schools. So it was good discussion, and I think we have some ideas for ways to move forward. And I appreciate Dr. Maher's ideas on that. So do you want to add anything?
Well, first of all, thank you, and I will take all the credit, but Dr. Vargas did all of the work.
True.
I would say that the conversation really is on what does that process look like to put all of those things in place that Lisa has just talked about. I too thought it was a great conversation. I think we're headed in the right direction. I'll go back and say thank you for allowing us to put a halt on this months ago. But if you're wondering, has there been progress made? I think significant progress. And I think the process is getting ironed out and will be ironed out soon. And there's I would say, considerable board involvement earlier in the process, at least the way we're looking at it right now, than there was before. So I think good progress is being made.
I really appreciate just cluing us in, since I believe we halted the priority school process in June of this year, and so it's been 6 months. I appreciate not being on the committee, having the little update, and I appreciate the committee members' input and work on that, because I know how much time and thought goes into that. So thank you. Any other questions or comments on the Planning and Evaluation Committee report? Deb?
Yeah, one of the things that we also brought up and discussed was, many times a school might be on this list in part because of the economic level of the students that are in the district. And so it puts these schools in a position where they deserve to have a little extra help to support these student populations. But we want it to be seen as a reward and not a punishment. And we talked about maybe changing the geography up with some regularity, so it isn't, a rural or urban district that's always targeted, or a certain geographic area that's always on the list, or because there's a lot of reasons why a school might end up on the list, and we don't ever want it to be seen as something that is punitive. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on item 7.3.a?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to authorize the commissioner contract for the 2026-27 standard college admission test.
Second.
Is moved and seconded to authorize the commissioner to contract for the 2026-2027 standard college admission test. Is there any discussion on the motion? Motion is to authorize the commissioner to contract for the 2026-2027 standard college admission test. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to authorize the commissioner to contract for the 2026-2027 standard college admission test is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.3.b?
Yes.
I move to adopt the assessment and reporting plan and assessment technical report for 2025-2026.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the assessment and reporting plan and assessment technical report for 2025-2026. Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion is to adopt the assessment and reporting plan and assessment technical report for 2025-2026. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the assessment and reporting plan and assessment technical report for 2025-2026 is adopted. Agenda item 7.3, discussion is a discussion item, Community Achievement Plan of the Learning Community of Douglas and Sarpy Counties. Board members, are there any questions or discussion on this item? Lisa, you have one? Or you have a question if you're questioning if you have a question.
Maybe. We talked about this one quite a bit, obviously, because it's a discussion item. And I think we have a couple people in the audience here, and I didn't know if this was going to be a time for them to have a chance to share, because I know this is one that's going to have a lot of questions. Yeah.
So what you can.
Oh, could we have Shirley Vargas come on up?
Dr. Vargas, yes. Dr. Vargas, would you come to the front?
Okay. I know, don't go too far. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Shirley Vargas, School Transformation Officer. And one of the things that I get to do as part of my role is work closely with the learning community. There's only one learning community in the state of Nebraska. That's the learning community of the Douglas and Sarpy counties. And one of the things that you all get to do as part of your work as a state board is approve their community achievement plan. One of the things, so thank you, board member Lisa Schoenhoff, who said, hey, it would be great to actually hear from them and get a little more context. We have been talking about this item in committee since August. So we've been attempting to bring the committee along for some time related to the work, the evaluations, which you all have access to on Spark, along with the progress reports, which were all due to you, so you can access that information, as well as, most importantly, the actual community achievement plan, which must be approved before we then certify all of the school funding pieces and things like that. So that's really important that that's in order there. You'll see on the rationale documentation, if I can draw your attention to that, just to give you a little bit of context before I turn it over to our colleagues here. So Nebraska Revised Statute 79-2122, which took effect in 2016, is the one in which calls for this community achievement plan. And the intent here is that it's to make sure that the districts of any learning community are really tied to and are collaborating for whatever the priorities are. And you'll see there are four main components of that community achievement plan. There's focus on the superintendent's early childhood plan, which is in collaboration with Buffett Early Childhood. There's the North and South Omaha Learning Centers. There's the MOAC Collective Impact Plan. MOAC stands for the Metropolitan Omaha Education Consortium. And we have the Superintendent's Attendance Plan. So I have colleagues here that are going to introduce themselves. I'm going to turn it over to them so that they have some time to actually share more about the learning community and what they do, and then there'll be time for questions, and then I'll wrap up with what the actual next steps are for you all as a board. So I'll let them take it from here.
Good morning. Glad to be here. I'm Gerald Kuhn, Chief Executive Officer for the Learning Community of Douglas and Sarpy County. I just want to start off by, one, if I could take a point of privilege to recognize Dr. Deb Friesen. She's been like a second mother to me since I was younger, providing structure and words of wisdom to me, and I would not probably be here if it wasn't for people like Dr. Friesen in my life. I grew up with her son, so I just want to take a point of privilege and say thank you. Now I want to introduce my colleagues that I have with me today. I have Jason Taylor.
Hello, I'm Jason Taylor. I represent District 6 on the Learning Community Coordinating Council.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Monica Wells, and I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Learning Community.
Good morning, Terry Hawk, Executive Director of MOAC.
All right. Now I'm going to turn it over to my, I know some of you guys should know most of everybody should know what the learning community of the Douglas and Sarpy County is, but we're going to give you some context to the CAP plan. And if you guys have any questions after that, after Monica goes and I speak, then we'll be free to answer any questions.
All right, good morning again. I don't know what the wager is for how short or long the meeting is, so I am not going to be the one to hold up. But I was excited when I heard that you all wanted just a little bit information of the learning community. I get excited anytime I get to speak about the work that's being done, so I am going to do a brief PowerPoint about it. You can follow along in your books. I do not have a box with question marks on it, but there is a prize inside of your books there, and it's my business card. So if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. Any feedback, we would love to hear from you. So my short presentation, and I hope whoever has the best wager wins today. So the learning community of Douglas and Sarpy County is a Nebraska political subdivision dedicated to improving educational outcomes and reducing opportunity gaps for children and families. We proudly partner with 11 school districts to support children from birth through 3rd grade and beyond with some of our other programs that we have, and families and communities working through challenges like poverty, language barriers, high mobility, and other socioeconomic needs. Our mission is aligned with the same mission of all of you. Together with school districts and community organizations as partners, we demonstrate, share, and implement more effective practices to measurably improve educational outcomes for children and families in poverty. And our vision is plain, that all children within the learning community achieve academic success without regard to social or economic circumstance. And I heard Madam President say all children today, and it made me very happy. Our focus is we're here to challenge the opportunity gap. We work with children and families to challenge the opportunity gap through early childhood education, family engagement, and district initiatives, which are inside your book again, but some that I'll touch on today. We serve, again, all the districts in Douglas and Sarpy County. Here's a map there for you to look at. But every program and partnership an initiative is designed to meet families where they're at, ensuring that all of our children, regardless of zip code, have access to support, to the support and the opportunities that they need to thrive. We enjoy working with all of the superintendents within all of the Douglas and Sarpy County. I know Gerald spends a lot of time with them. Some of us serve on some of the special advisory boards, but it is just great to work alongside people who have the same mission that we do. We have our coordinating council, and if you see, we have the wonderful Jason Taylor here today. A secret about him is he owns a nice donut shop, one of the best in Gretna. And he spoils us at our council meetings by bringing him every time. the thing that I love about our coordinating council, they are elected officials, is they too work alongside with us. When we go to different programs, they are there. Jason and I just did mock interviews for Avenue Scholars for high school students the other day. Anytime I look to my right or my left, there's a council member there with the mission right there with us. And so we are very grateful to their guidance and their partnership. And then our executive leadership, we have there displayed today. So about our programs, we have 2 early learning centers, as Dr. Vargas talked about. Our parent university at Learning Community of North Omaha, it's our north site, it's also where our executive offices are. And then our family learning center in South Omaha. And you can see those are our center directors who do amazing work. Ann O'Hare has been there from the start. I welcome you all for a tour. It is awesome and the work that is being done. We've had some senators visit recently, and they have all left just happy and energized and of the work that's going on in those centers. Those ladies are doing amazing things. So the key elements of that we teach within those learning centers is that 2-gen approach. Early childhood development, health and well-being, post-secondary and employment pathways, economic assets, and social capital. But while our parents are learning, while our parents are in financial literacy classes or ESL classes or GED classes, their children are down the hall learning as well. And so they are getting that kindergarten readiness at the same time. So we believe strongly in that 2-gen approach. The superintendent's early childhood plan, you've heard about this, and this is through the Buffett Early Childhood Institute. They are doing amazing work, and I smile as I've worked there for 3 years before I came over to the learning community, so I've witnessed it firsthand. Their 3 levels of support is the school as hub. So it's grounded in the understanding that the local elementary schools can serve as community hubs, and they're doing just that, focusing on that birth to grade 3 approach and just really that family engagement piece. Through the School as Hub, there's the home visiting and family facilitation from birth to school enrollment, the high quality preschool experience for 3 to 4-year-olds, aligned kindergarten through grade 3 instruction, intentional family partnerships for children's birth through grade 3. They are doing amazing things in our School as Hub schools. Another part of that, their level of support is professional development. They offer that to all of the schools that are within Douglas and Sarpy County. I love their community of practices. They have them for the principals. All the principals across the districts can get together and share what is going on, celebrate things that's going on. They do it for the teachers. They do it for the family engagement staff. And then also each superintendent, they provide a work group member and they get together as well and get to exchange what's going on and celebrate what's going on through the district. So it's really a partnership of us all working alongside each other. Customized assistance. So there may be some of the districts that aren't doing the School as Hub model, but they are still getting customized assistance through the Buffett Early Childhood Plan, where they're working on various things that will help push along and help build up those skills within the early childhood area. Our district initiatives, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
All right. So in partnership with the schools, the school districts, we have district initiatives. So the learning community in the past, there was some discussion about whether or not to serve, how the learning community serves those districts that are out in rural areas or Springfield, Platteview, Gretna, Elkhorn, and Bennington school districts. And with the learning, the reason why the centers work so well is because there's a concentration of poverty in eastern Omaha where we can adequately serve all those parents who are in that area. But the learning community was not being good stewards and not being good partners with those districts in the outlying areas that I mentioned earlier. So what I did when I came in is I wanted to make sure that the learning community is a great partner with those school districts and is able to serve those school districts well, since we are the learning community of Douglas and Sarpy County. So it costs relatively about $2.9 million to run a learning community center. And so I took those resources and divided it amongst all 11 school districts based on a formula that I don't have the formula off the top of my head, but it just takes into consideration how many students are in the district that have free and reduced lunch and are English EL students. And based on that formula, I wanted to have a base of $100,000 because $100,000 at least gives you a full-time employee with salary and benefits in there, and a full-time employee in a smaller district such as Douglas County or Springfield Platteview could do amazing things in the realm of closing gaps in opportunity and achievement. The school did, so we implemented that. Our council graciously voted and approved that plan. Now we have District Initiatives 2.0. On the screen, you see the different school districts as well as the initiatives that those school districts are working on. And they're doing an amazing job. Springfield, just as an example, Springfield Platteview never had a social worker on staff, though it's desperately needed in that area. So now they have a social worker working on staff, and there's several districts who are doing amazing work in education and just have new and innovative ways that I'm super proud of. So I will go ahead and we can go to the next slide. Some of our partners that we have, of course, Buffett Early Childhood Institute, but we wanted to make sure that all students have access to great and enriching opportunities. So we partner with the Henry Dorley Zoo they have some amazing things at the zoo. I didn't know they had a school at the zoo. I didn't know that they had, but you have to pay to be able to receive those services and receive that education. So the learning community partnered with the zoo to make sure that all the students in that area have access to be able to get that enriching education. Because if they don't know that those career fields are out there, they definitely can't be able to go into them and have an interest in them. So that's the reason why I started that partnership. District D2 Center supports those students who did not graduate on time, and the D2 Center reaches back out to those students. OPS, for instance, has about 1,100 students that don't graduate per year, and the D2 Center reaches out to them to help those students graduate. So the partnerships like those make the learning community just a great place and a great resource for the Douglas and Sarpy County.
So as promised, I kept it short with some good points, but you do have the book in front of you. You have our card. We are open to any questions that you have. We are open to hosting you and coming to see our learning centers. When I need a piece of joy in my life and we want to remember what joy looks and feels like, I go down and see a baby. So come see the babies. And our families are just awesome. It's just beautiful to see, and we'd love to share it with all of you. So thank you for having us here today.
Thank you for your presentation. Board members, questions or comments? Maggie?
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. I love this stuff, and I do want to come on all of the tours, please. Is there any crossover between Collective for Youth and you guys?
Yes, there is a ton of crossover for Collective for Youth in programming. And we want to partner with them. We partner with Completely Kids to serve a particular area. But the learning community is also open to growing our learning community and partnerships with all the local areas.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I was
no
just
problem.
curious, because it's, okay, so it's more of a parallel to Completely Kids. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is fair to say. And
Okay.
so we help and we provide some funding to help with some of their programming as well.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
No problem.
That's it. I wanted to make sure that we all understood the word crossover the same way. You're talking about partnership, not redundancy, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yeah, that's what I know that for a fact. I'm a huge fan of what I've sat in on your parenting classes and some of the early childhood programming, and it's It's such a cost-effective way for all these school districts to come together, and then with all the support that you receive from all the partners, like Collective for Youth and so many others that help make this a success. So kudos to all of you for the great work that you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a question, and this will come as no surprise to my fellow board members. Tell me about how your work is reinforcing the concepts that we have put in our literacy project, because you have the parent university and you have a family learning center. So how are you promoting that early literacy and using those evidence-based instruction?
Let me start. So in our learning centers, we use creative curriculum for our students. We also, in our North Center and our South Center, OPS is our base. I think we work with Bellevue a little bit in our South Center, but we know the moonshot for OPS is literacy, that everybody's going to be reading on grade level by 2030, and so we support that as well with some initiatives as well. So through our Learning Center, they have that research-based curriculum there that they work on, and then we're also supporting the districts with different initiatives and some instructional coaching as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add just a little bit more color to. So as you look on this page with district initiatives, so what we do is school districts will look at their evaluations on where they're at as far as literacy and if the students are reading on grade level. And based on the money that the resources that they have available through district initiatives, let's see, DC West, where is that? There. DC West, Elkhorn, Millard, OPS, Papillion, La Vista have all opted to have a focus on early literacy, and then they develop a proposal, and they present it to myself and my team, and we'll pre-approve it. They'll present it to a subcommittee, but then ultimately members on the coordinating council, such as Jason Taylor, the school districts come before them and they present their proposal, and then they vote on, the council votes on it to approve the initiative.
So can you also tell me how you're involving parents in the early literacy?
You want to start? Yeah.
I would say a little bit of the same way. So that 2-gen approach, we always find ways to make sure that the parents and the students are learning together. We have a summer camp that we do, and it's the parents and the child together in those sessions, and their focus is on literacy during that time. We also partner with the National Children and Families Learning, and so that they have a literacy initiative that they do at both of our centers, and families are involved in that. And we want to make sure that whatever the child is learning in those learning centers, that they are taking it home, and our educational navigators. We didn't speak on that, but that's a part of the plan in our learning centers. Each of our families get an educational navigator that goes into the home, does home visits with them. They use Growing Great Kids as the research-based curriculum that they use during that time. But they also try to reiterate what's going on in the classroom at home as well. And so we try to have that wraparound for the whole child. Did that answer your question?
It did, but I have one more.
Come on.
So don't worry.
That's okay.
I'm almost done, Kurt.
We're not worried.
So we know the research is out there that children who, there's markers early on of kids who are going to struggle. Dyslexia does manifest itself long before 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade.
Yes.
Because you are partnering with families at such an early age, have you been able to identify this and then start to provide those supports to those children?
Yes, yes, and yes. I smile because you have to get there sooner. And you start early, you start well. That's what Buffett would say. They would be proud of me for saying that. We know that 90% of that brain development happens in those early years. And so that home visitation is so key, making sure that they are they're in the home, they're identifying troubles that they are having, because some parents are like, yeah, my child isn't talking, but that's okay. They'll start talking soon. Or, yeah, my child does have sort of a tick, but I had a tick too, and so that's,
Yeah.
that's something that they may not identify if they don't have someone walking alongside of them. So those educational navigators that are there to help them are able to walk through, there's benchmarks that they use, and they're able to identify some of those families that need to ED in early, so that they can get the help before they get inside the classroom.
Great, I appreciate that. I mean, so often, with literacy, we used to hear, well, if you just read to your kids, they would, and it's like, no, there are so many other things, so that you're doing that. But apparently, I have reached my time limit of questions. Any other board member? All right. Seeing no further comments, I'm going to let Dr. Vargas wrap up.
Just as a quick reminder, next month, they will not be here. Just the item will be for approval of the Community Achievement Plan, which you will have access to. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Vargas, and thank you, Learning Community Team.
I might bring you guys donuts next month.
I mean, that might help the vote. Not gonna lie. All right. Ah. That's a pretty long distance for me to get my morning coffee and donuts, so. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, item 7.4, Chair Maggie Douglas will report on behalf of the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting. Or do you have that
Sorry
report?
about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Wrong window open. Okay. The Rules and Regulations Committee reports on the December 4th, 2025 meeting of the committee. Members present were Chair Maggie Douglas, Vice Chair Liz Renner, Elizabeth Tegmeyer, and Kirk Penner. Committee members reviewed the report on rules and committee report. Amy Huff highlighted the 2 hearings that are scheduled in December. The committee reviewed revisions to Rule 11, regulations for the approval of pre-kindergarten programs established by schools board or educational service units, and for issuance of early childhood education grants. The public hearing was held on October 15th, 2025. The committee, having no concerns, recommends approval. The committee reviewed revisions to Rule 20, regulations for the approval of educator preparation programs. The public hearing was held on October 24th, 2025. The committee, having no concerns, recommends approval. The committee reviewed revisions to Rule 47, regulations for career academy programs established by school districts. The public hearing was held on November 26, 2025. The committee, having no concerns, recommends approval. The committee reviewed revisions to Rule 89, regulations and procedures to incentivize distance education. The public hearing was held on November 6, 2025. The committee, having no concerns, recommends approval. NDE staff provided information on Rule 10, regulations and procedures for the accreditation of schools. Committee members had previously confirmed interest in reviewing policy issues related to sections 13 waivers and plans and 14 loss of accreditation. NDE staff provided a public input draft on Rule 24 regulations for certification endorsements and highlighted the changes made to the endorsements. The committee recommends moving forward with the public input draft. NDE staff provided information on Rule 19 Enrollment Option Program. Input was received from legislative staff and other partners on an opportunity to revise Rule 19 to meet current needs of students, families, and schools. The committee recommended that NDE staff proceed with revisions for Rule 19. The committee reviewed a consent agenda item related to the Mentor Teacher Program guidelines. The committee also met on November 5th, 2025 to discuss feedback and changes to Rule 13, regulations and procedures for exemption schools for which parents elect not to meet legal requirements for school approval and accreditation. The public hearing is scheduled for December 19th, 2025. This concludes the Rules and Regulations Committee report. Maggie Douglas, Chair.
Are there any questions on the Rules and Regulations Committee report? there a motion on 7.4.b?
I move to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 11.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 11. Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion is to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 11. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 11 is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.4.c?
I move to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 20.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 20. Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion is to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 20. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Douglas,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 20 is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.4.d?
I move to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 47.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 47. Is there any discussion on the motion? The motion is to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 47. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Christensen,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 47 is adopted. Is there a motion on item 7.4.e?
I move to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 89.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 89. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, the motion is to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 89. Would the recording secretary please call the roll?
Tegmeyer,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Schoenhoff,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
8 yes.
The affirmative has it, and the motion to adopt the proposed revisions to Rule 89 is adopted. The next items on the agenda, items 9.1 through 9.2, are information items and written reports for the board. Agenda item 10. This section of the agenda is intended for board members to offer informal observations of the work of the state board. Board members may make brief announcements about attendance at future events for the purpose of informing other board members. No business or motions or suggested action of the board may be offered at this point in the agenda, nor should board members engage in substantive discussion about other agenda items or introduce new agenda items. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order?
I do, President Tegmeyer.
Sherry.
Okay. I appreciated the opportunity to attend the Excel in Ed conference in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. In my 35 years of teaching and 3 years on the State Board of Education, I can say the Excel in Ed conferences are some of the best I've attended. To mention, I attended sessions on school accountability, use of AI, use of AI, the art of public discourse, and I will try to apply what I learned, and civics education, where I learned that less than 25% of students in the United States are graduating proficient in U.S. history and civics. and I'll repeat that, less than 25% are graduating proficient in U.S. history and civics. For the sake of preserving our beloved United States of America, we must do better. Proficiency starts with our state standards, which we are in the process of revising. I would like to encourage our constituents to provide input, which you may do at any point of the review process. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have attended that conference. And I'm sorry, Allison, I'm going to for putting you on the spot. I just thought of this like 2 minutes ago. But would you be willing to tell the public how to submit comments for NDE? Can you do that? Are you okay?
I'm getting affirmative nods from board members. Kirk's like, make it quick. Allison, would you please come up?
I'm just asking because I really want our public, we appreciate input of the public. And I'm not sure that our public really knows this is even going on or how to make comments. So I just think it's very important that we make sure they know how they can do that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Allison Denbesti, Academic Officer. And as Sherry mentioned, the social studies standards are currently under revision, and we accept public input throughout the process. The easiest way to access that would be to go to the NDE Social Studies page, and there is a link to a dedicated email address. I'm not going to rely on my memory and cite the email address, but it's on the page. Also, in early spring, February or March, we anticipate that the second public input survey, which would be a survey over the draft of the revised social studies, would be made available. And we will work with our communications office to get that on the NDE main webpage and also put out a press release if that's appropriate, again, working with our communications officer.
Thank you, Allison. I'm not sure if we're pushing the good of the order, but Deb?
Are we allowed to discuss
Um,
comment? I mean, her discussion?
What?
What's the parameter?
You may make brief announcements about attendance at future events for the purpose of informing other board members. No business or motions or suggested actions of the board may be offered at this point, nor should board members engage in substantive discussion about other agenda items or introduce new agenda items. So I do feel like we may have overstepped that.
But I would like to make a comment,
Okay.
since we've already overstepped. I think it's one of the things, and this is related to our agenda, which I'm not allowed to do, social studies standards. Okay, it's not related to our social studies standards, but it is a discussion that I've had with a lot of people about the sources that we use. And that there are a lot of studies out there that are paid for with political funds, and they have a bias. And so when we have looked at standards, maybe the social studies standards, this came up, some of those reports and organizations are focused on, and as Sherry just said, history and civics. And from these are organizations that don't want us also including economics and geography and other subjects in our social studies. And they have other agendas as well. And so when someone talks and scores us only on histories and civics, which we've done an exceptional job, and our standards, and all of the teachers that are on the writing committee have expressed that they're very happy with those standards and believe that a broader education than just history and civics and American exceptionalism is important for our students. Thank you.
Okay, this is getting into more of a discussion. So at this point, I am not taking any more comments about the social studies standards. So thank you to all of those who attended in person and who tuned into the broadcast. The next meetings of the State Board of Education are scheduled for January 8th and 9th, 2026 in Lincoln, Nebraska. The December 5th, 2025 State Board meeting is adjourned.